Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Marcia, also known as Fairy Little. Today I'm going to show you how to knit for speed and efficiency using the continental style and just some quick tricks that you can do to help you knit faster. One thing that I would suggest is if you are working on knitting for speed, you pick a project that it doesn't matter if your gauge changes on. So something like a hat would be a good idea, or a circular scarf, something that you can just keep knitting and knitting and knitting in the round and just keep practicing, because it does take a while to get your gauge. It's just like starting to knit again. It takes a while to get your gauge back to a consistent tension. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my yarn and I weave it through my fingers. When I get knitting really quickly, I don't actually hold the yarn like this, but just for showing you how to increase your speed, I'll just show you that right now. So I'm going to take the yarn, weave it through my fingers like so. And one thing that you need to do is move your stitches close to the tips, because the least amount of movement you have to make with your hands, the quicker your knitting is going to be. So this is continental style. You can also do English style knitting with speed. And what you would do is you would hold the yarn in your other hand, but you would still move your yarn to the tips of your needles. So what you do for continental knitting is you go into the stitch, you grab your yarn and you pull it through the loop. So that's how you do your knitting for continental style. And when you're knitting for speed, you just do this motion and you progressively get quicker, but you want to make sure that you're keeping your yarn as close to the tips as you can so that you're moving your wrists and your fingers the least amount possible. So you go into that stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, instead of going through the stitch and bringing your yarn around. See how big that motion is? That takes a lot longer than just going in, grabbing the yarn and pulling it through. When I do it like that, I end up using this finger to grab the yarn, pull it through, and that creates a tighter tension, but it doesn't give me the speed that I'm looking for. So in through the stitch, grab it and through. And you just keep practicing that over and over, and after a while, you just start getting a little bit faster, a little bit faster. And I just keep adjusting those stitches right to the tip. And faster. I knit socks before where I had to stop thinking about the stitches that I was making because my brain couldn't keep up with how fast I was knitting it, and I had to actually, I just held the yarn like this, and well, I had a little bit of tension on it, but I just held the yarn super light and just went quick. Now for English style, I still hold the yarn the same on the other way. My English style knitting is a little bit slower. And you can, some people knit like this, and they let go of the needle and they wrap the yarn around each time. For me, that takes a lot of time. And again, when you're knitting for speed, you want to make sure that everything you need is right at the tip of your needles. So then in This is not my natural way to knit, so I'm a little bit more clumsy this way. And for me it's a bigger motion, so just wrap that yarn around and then through, but you want to make sure that you're keeping everything as close to the tips as you can, even if it just increases your speed a little bit. That's good. You don't have to win any competitions. It's just to make it go a little bit quicker for you. And I've seen other knitters who knit English style who can knit a lot quicker than me. English style, that's not my chosen way to knit. Mine is the continental style, so I'll switch back to that. My gauge is a lot tighter when I knit English style as well, which is something that you need to consider, is that if your gauge is changing, then you need to either go up or down a needle size. When I first started knitting continental style, just on its own, I had to go down a needle size because I'm quite a loose knitter. And the quicker I knit, the looser I actually knit. So that's it. Make sure that you bring your yarn closer to the tips of your needles and make smaller motions with your wrists and your hands. You'll find that knitting like this is actually easier on your wrists, easier on your hands, and you can probably go a lot farther than you can when you're doing big motions, because that puts a lot more stress on your wrists. So I hope that was helpful to you. If you enjoyed that and if it was helpful, please hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.